wish I could have lived aboard and cruised when I was 14. That
Yeah.
would have been awesome.
It was the coolest experience probably I've had in my life.
Today is September 29th, 2012 in Oriental, North Carolina. I'm on the bridge overlooking Pamlico Sound and Oriental's anchorage. Right over there is a boat that came in a few days ago. I met the guy aboard, his name's Ben. He tied up at the Freetown dock and then came back out to the anchorage. And he invited me aboard for a little tour of his boat, and I hope you find it interesting. How long have you been here?
About a week and a half.
Wow, and you've never been to Oriental before?
Nope, heard lots of good things, but yeah, it's my first time.
Wow, week and a half.
Stayed at the town dock for a little while.
Yeah. What's the deal with the town dock over there?
You get about 48 hours and
yeah,
it's free, and then nobody kicks you out, but you know, other people want in. So
the sign says 48 hours, and then what are you supposed to wait a certain amount of
30
time?
30 days.
30 days.
Yeah, so every 30 days you can spend 48 hours on the dock. Wow. It's a nice little spot.
Huh. It's right across from the coffee shop there, isn't it?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time at the Bean.
You have?
Oh yeah.
Some good coffee, and they have Wi-Fi there too, don't they?
Yep.
Oh. So, how did you discover sailing? Where did you discover sailing?
Oh, that's a
When was
good
that?
question. I guess I discovered it on Cape Cod growing up. My dad sailed. We had a little sunfish at my grandmother's house. We would sail there. So I learned on a little sunfish and sailed around the Cape Cod Canal. My parents sort of have a history of sailing. They lived on a 21-foot boat for 18 months or something before they were married, or around when they were married, and maybe after when they were married. I think they did their honeymoon on it.
Wow.
My dad's he'd sailed his whole life, and he actually sailed that 21-foot across the Atlantic to Antigua from Penzance by way of the Canaries, I believe.
On a 21-foot boat?
Yeah, it was the Mini Transat Race. It was a long time ago, 68 maybe or something.
Was he single-handed?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know how long that voyage took?
It was 40 some odd days. Yeah.
Your father, 40 days, single-handed.
Yeah, it was a little junk rig boat. It was a cool, really cool little boat. Twin keel. You know, Blondie Hasler, who did a junk rig design and then self-steering, sort of had that idea that this was, you know, the safest way to sail a small boat across the Atlantic, or easiest, you know, and he built, a wind vane self-steering gear.
Yep.
And I think, you know, that he's probably influenced my dad pretty heavily, and influenced my dad into doing that type of sort of rig. I mean, he ended up doing a similar rig. I think Blondie had a folk boat or something, but my dad took a Kingfisher.
Huh.
So they did that, and then they did that before they were married, and then I guess took some time off and lived ashore, and then when I guess I was about 14, they had enough of living ashore and bought a boat again, and we bought a boat in Finland and sailed around Europe for about 2.5 years.
When you were 14?
Yeah, until I was about 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, I wish I could have lived aboard and cruised when I was 14. That
Yeah.
would have been awesome.
It was the coolest experience probably I've had in my life. Probably.
So where did you sail during?
We started in Finland, spent sort of the summer in the Baltic, and so we ended up going south and wintering in England, which is where my mom's from. So we stayed with family, and then we kept going south. I went to school for a little bit in Spain, Morocco, Tunisia, Malta. Then we did Greece, Turkey, and there's the tea.
Oh, yeah.
You get that?
And I love the mug.
Yeah, actually a buddy of mine gave me that before I set sail.
That's a perfect mug for a cruiser, because it won't tip over easily.
Yeah, it's a good little mug.
You were first introduced to sailing when you were very young. Your father took you sailing like when you were a little kid.
Oh yeah.
You've been sailing all your life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't discover sailing until much later on in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've always known the sea.
In some degree. I mean, I always felt like I'd sort of absorbed stories of the sea, and that my uncle's a big sailor as well. He sailed on tall ships, and I just feel like I was sort of absorbing it, but I was more into tennis and soccer and other things, and never really focused on that. And then sort of later in life, I discovered it as sort of something that I could be passionate about and really love. And I think as a kid I had too much energy maybe. Now I can relax and enjoy.
Too much energy for sailing?
Maybe. Yeah, I think maybe.
Wow.
So now, I still have a lot of energy, but I'm able to sort of really enjoy sailing now.
How old are you now?
32.
32. Wow. You said that you went to school in Spain. What was that like?
That was cool. So we'd been on the boat, living as a family, and I hadn't had a lot of exposure to kids or anywhere near as much as I would have liked. Being 14, I was kind of I was interested in meeting other people. And,
yeah.
So we sort of gave up briefly and went to a school for maybe 3 months in the south of Spain, to an international school there, and that was awesome. I met kids. I felt like I got the social stuff I needed.
Did you speak Spanish though? Or?
Not really, no. But it was an international school, so classes were in English.
Oh, I see.
But I learned a little bit while I was there, and then we enjoyed it so much that we sailed a bit more. But I ended up going to school for another year in Mallorca, an island off the east coast of Spain in the Balearic Islands.
Wow.
And that was in English as well, but my Spanish improved a lot. I had a lot of local friends, and most of the people in the school spoke Spanish most of the time.
Yeah.
So I was able to pick up some, albeit it's been quite a while now. So
spending that time there as a kid, that's sort of like home for you, or
in a
you're
way,
very familiar
it's
with
gotta,
You grew up there.
Yeah, I mean, some like important times in my life. First years of high school were there. So I do have a really strong connection with Spain. I miss it.
So you sailed around the Med and for a couple of years, and
I think a total of maybe a year and a half, and if you include school, maybe longer, maybe 2 years if you include school. It was brilliant. I want to go back. There's so many places I haven't seen. Yeah.
Wow.
I'd even want to go back to the places I have seen.
Sure. So what happened next?
Then we moved back. My dad got a job again.
To the States?
Yeah. We moved back to Boston.
Or?
No, we sold the boat in Barcelona, and went. Yeah, I went back, and I went back to school. It was miserable.
I bet. In Massachusetts and Boston?
In Connecticut, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it was, and eventually, I mean, I went to a couple different high schools throughout. So I'd gone in Spain, and I went to school while I was home to boarding school. Didn't enjoy that much, and then I went to my local high school. Loved that, and went off to college and sort of hadn't thought about sailing much after that. I mean, it was always in the back of my head, yeah, one day I'm definitely going to live on a boat. One day I'd love to raise my kids on a boat.
What did you study?
Computer science. I wanted to do architecture, I thought, but then I discovered a programming class in high school and just loved it, and I didn't look back. I was a double major with music for a little while, but that was going to be too much work. So
music and computer science at the same time.
Yeah. So I dropped the music, but kept the computer science. So
throughout your undergraduate study, did you sail at all or not at all?
I think I went on one trip with some friends in England. I think that was while I was in college. I sailed from Oban in Scotland down to was it Southampton, I think. Somewhere.
That's a huge trip.
yeah. It was like 3-4 days, and 5 days maybe. Maybe longer. I don't know. But yeah, it was. We were just helping him move his boat and family friends, and so we went for a little sail.
Wow.
Yeah, but I think I'm trying to think. I think that was while I was in college, and I don't remember any other sailing trips while I was in college. Yeah. Just sailing was in the back of my mind for a long time.
What happened after you graduated with your degree in computer science?
I moved to Connecticut. I was dating a girl there, so I went to Connecticut and I lived there for a while, and sort of working for the man was pretty miserable. And then
what were you doing?
I was working at Pfizer, and didn't really enjoy that much. And then I worked for a bank for a while, and didn't enjoy that much. So I sort of cut out on my own for a little while and did web design and web development stuff.
You mean as a freelancer?
Sort of like a freelancer, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was tough because it actually meant that I had more bosses than I thought I had before. Instead, I had, every one of my clients was a boss.
Oh boy.
Whereas before it was like, well, I had one boss, but so it felt less like freedom than even having a regular job, a day to day. But I did that for a while. I was able to do a little bit of traveling then. I went to Sri Lanka after the tsunami and did some relief work there. Really? Yeah.
Wow, did you get into doing that?
I just, when it happened, I just felt like I had sort of a compulsion to go.
Wow.
So I went.
What was that like?
It was intense on a lot of levels, but it was also, I was really impressed with the people there and sort of the recovery effort and the positivity. I went as, hoping I was going to be digging trenches and building houses, and I ended up going and they had me working on databases while I was there. I know. I was like in an air-conditioned room.
Wow.
I was kind of hoping I'd be out there, and I did get a chance to do some of that, but most of the time, it's just...
But they were like, you have a degree in computer science, oh, we need you here.
It's funny, yeah. I mean, at least I felt like I was needed, but it wasn't quite what I expected.
How long were you there?
I was only there a month. I traveled for about 2 months, a month on either side.
Yep.
But yeah, at that point I was like, I'm not working for the man again. I'm working for myself, and my girlfriend at the time was super supportive of that. So I started doing my business full time for a couple of years, 3-4 years I did that, and then
freelance contract web
development
developer.
Yeah. And then finally I got offered a job with a 401k and health benefits, and I was like, you know what? I think I'll take it.
Yep.
And I took that for a year and hated it.
Oh man!
I don't know if I hated it, but then I got an amazing job with the organization that I work with now, which is an environmental organization. It's called ASHE. It's the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education.
Wow.
And we're a nonprofit. Work with colleges to help them achieve sustainability on a number of levels. So I work with them.
Sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And what do you do for them?
Still programming, but
for their website?
Exactly. Yeah, we have a reporting tool that they report on schools can go in and report on their progress towards sustainability, anywhere from how they do it in their research or their curriculum to their operations. Like, are they, how are they managing their grounds? How are they managing their energy consumption?
Yep.
And even like administrative stuff, like how are they managing their endowment? How are they spending money there?
And how long have you been working with that?
3.5 years with that. Yeah, and it's all remote, and I feel like I'm doing something worthwhile, and it's it's been great. It's allowed me to live on a boat too.
So you're not going into an office building every day and coding for,
Nope, I code right down there most of the time.
Wow.
Or sometimes here if it's not too hot or sunny.
So you're making money to go cruising by working on your boat as a computer programmer, sort of remotely.
Yeah,
Wow.
I just need internet. I have a high gain Wi-Fi antenna, and normally I can pick up Wi-Fi. I have a little trouble here, but oftentimes I can tether to my phone as long as I have cell phone coverage, and I find that I'm actually more productive. I think there's a strong correlation between when you're happy, you're productive, I've told this story before, but when I was up in Nova Scotia sailing with my uncle, he invited me to sail with him for about 2 weeks, and I figured I'd make it a test run for could I do the boat thing, could I live on a boat, and so I went up there, I brought my laptop and my phone, and took the first week off and sailed with him, and then the second week I would work while he was sort of moving the boat, going from anchorage to anchorage or doing whatever we were doing. We crossed Fundy, and I did that while I was on vacation. But then after that, I worked, and it was one of the most productive weeks I'd had. I mean, normally, like back in my apartment, I'd go and play the piano or play guitar. So I need some separation periodically, while I was working, or I'd go down to the coffee shop, or I'd go for a run. Whereas here, or on his boat, I could just sort of stick my head out the window and be like, all right, yeah, I'm good. Cool, I can go back to work. This is cool. I'm wondering what it's like not being at the location of the company where you're working. Don't you need to be in meetings or be in communication with people? How do you do that? And that's definitely a challenge, and it was a challenge before I moved on the boat because we were all remote then as well. So I was working from my house or the coffee shop or a friend's couch type, wherever I happened to be, I could work. And the way we meet, we typically do Skype, and we'll just chat, and sometimes we'll video chat from time to time. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge. There's a lot of sort of real-time communication, but then there's a lot of sort of the expectation that, hey, if you send an email, you're not going to get a response right away. It's everybody's working, and email's not the same as walking into someone's office and being like, hey. So we have sort of grades of how to communicate. So email, you expect a 24-hour delay or something, next day. If you really need someone, you call them, or you text them, or you instant message them through our email client. And to be honest, there's really no difference between me being on the boat and me having been wherever else I was. Wow. I haven't had any struggles with communication. Albeit I haven't gone to the Bahamas yet, and I do plan to go to Nova Scotia, and I'm going to have to be a little more cautious there about where I go. Yeah, because you need internet access wherever you go. Right, yeah. And I guess you also need, for it to be okay, that there are times when you're just really not in communication range, when you don't have Wi-Fi, when you're sailing from one place to the next, and it takes some days to do that. Right. Yeah. If I'm going to do an offshore passage or something, I mean, people know at work that I'm not going to be available. Sometimes I'll take vacation, but I try to do those on weekends. So I'll do like a 2-day passage. This weekend I'm going to be going to Elizabeth City, and that should about 100 miles, and it's all inland. But I won't expect to be doing any work. But I should be able to work as soon as I get to Elizabeth City. I should have connectivity again and be able to work. Wow, that's just amazing that you can juggle working for your job and then working on your boat and everything involved in cruising from one place to another all together. It's a challenge.
I bet you're pretty busy.
Yeah, exactly. Because managing the boat is a huge amount of work.
Yeah.
Just in itself. I mean, my to-do list is epic.
Yeah.
For what I have to do, and same as my work. So there's not a lot of time when I try to enjoy a place. When I get to a place, I like to get out. Like tonight, we're gonna go to the Silos.
Yeah, the music night. Are you gonna play music tonight?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I hope so. We'll see.
I am psyched. That'll be great.
Yeah, so I like to try and explore, and like it's nice because I can go work at the Bean, and then like I meet people there, or I at least get a feeling of the environment there.
Yeah.
And this, I find other places that have coffee shops that I can work at. But I am busy. I'm really busy. I see a lot of people that just live on their boats, and they're busy.
Yeah. And on top of that, you manage this job.
Yeah.
Wow.